today we're going to talk all about feet. The feet are so important for everything that we do, but especially for any weight-bearing activities such as running. Running is cyclical, so we're spending a lot of time on our feet, and we need to think about the feet as more than one joint. So oftentimes the foot is a catch-all term, but really we have 26 bones and 33 joints in our feet. And oftentimes we don't work on those joints individually. So today we're going to work on mobilizing the feet and then integrating some strengthening to work on foot stability. So oftentimes we spend a lot of our day in shoes, which can kind of compress the foot. And so when we're we want to spend as much time as possible out of shoes, and we can do a few exercises to combat that compression and allow that movement to be restored. So we're going to start with some toe spreading. So you're going to sit in a chair and cross your leg over, and you're going to take your fingers and interlace them between your toes. And depending on your mobility, you might not be able to get your fingers all the way through, but that's the goal. So work your way down, and it might be a little bit uncomfortable, but I don't want you to go through pain. If this is too uncomfortable, you can just grab your toes with the heel of your hand. And what we're going to do is just work back and forth, flexion and extension of the toes. So I'm not moving through my ankle, I can hold my foot still, and I'm just working on getting that movement through the toes. I can also work in more of a circular fashion, so getting kind of some more rotational movement through those toes, back and forth. Really, you're just playing around with the toes and trying to get some movement in them and some space between them. And this is going to kind of wake up the foot a little bit, get kind of the muscles between the toes and the foot working. You can even do kind of like a ringing, so holding the base of the foot here and then rotating the whole foot. And now we're getting some movement through some of those other joints of the foot as well. So in running, we often talk about pronation, so that rotation down, and then supination. And that midfoot rotation is really important as we run as well to help absorb that load as our foot contacts the ground. Good, so you can kind of spend a couple minutes of this each day, either at the end of the day, again, to combat all that time in the shoe, or even as a warm-up before you do any kind of strength or stability work to just get some life into those feet. So now we'll move over to the other side, and you might notice that you have a little bit more space between your toes, so that's the goal there. So again, we're going to interlace our fingers between our toes. Again, starting with that flexion extension. So bringing the toes up towards the foot and then pointing the toes down. And you might notice a difference side to side. We want that toe box to be nice and wide. If our toe starts crossing over, that can lead to extra stress on the outside or the inside of our foot, leading to things like bunions. So we want to get that space between the toes. And again, you can work on some rotation through the toes. And then incorporate some ringing of that midfoot. So holding kind of the base of the ankle here, and then rotating the foot in both directions. So now that we've woken up all those muscles and got those joints moving and gliding a bit better, we're going to integrate some strength work into this. So we're going to find the tripod of the foot, so equal pressure on the base of the big toe, so the big toe mound, the base of the little toe, or the little toe mound, and then on both sides of our heel. So we're finding that tripod position, equal pressure, our knee is stacked over our ankle, and then I want you to spread your toes as much as you can. If you're not able to do that actively, I want you to use your fingers to get your toes as wide and spread as you can. From here, I'm maintaining this position. I'm gonna keep my little toes down, and I'm gonna lift my big toe up towards the ceiling like I'm hitchhiking with my toe. I want to keep that in line, so if I feel like my toe is crossing over, I'm going to use my finger to try and keep it in line with the inside of my foot. If I find that my little toes are coming up with it, then I'll hold my little toes down to give a little bit of support. If I'm not able to lift my toe up actively, I'm going to use my hand or my finger to help. So because this is something we don't actively do all the time, or for most of us, we might need a little bit of support to get that motor control back. Okay, so if this feels impossible for you right now, just use your hands for support. It will get better with practice and time, and will transfer through having better stability through your foot, leading to less ankle sprains, maybe you're a trail runner, or just less foot pain, plantar fascia pain, and even all the way up the chain. If we have better stability through our foot, it sets up everything else up the chain. So this is really key to be able to work on and continue to progress on. So now we're going to do the reverse. So I found my tripod again. Now I'm keeping my big toe down, and I'm gonna lift my little toes up towards the ceiling. Common thing with this is to pronate, so collapse through the knee here, and we want to keep that tripod so that I'm lifting only through my toes. Good. And again, you can use your fingers for support, help it out a little bit, and I want you to try and keep those toes spread and toes long. So sometimes we see what I call gnarly toe when the little toes curl as I lift up, and that can create that kind of crunching position in the toes, so we want to keep those toes nice and long. And then you can work back and forth as you improve, again trying not to rotate through the foot. We're working on joint independence, so being able to move each joint independently from one another. And then obviously as we run, that midfoot rotates and pronates, and then we have that joint interdependence, so where the joints are moving together. Another common thing with if we don't have good intrinsic control, so those are the muscles between the feet, is that we grip with our toes. When we grip with our toes, it can lead to a lot of tightness in our posterior chain, especially in our calves. Can lead to Achilles pain, and it can lead into plantar fascia tightness as well. So we want to keep those toes nice and long, nice and spread, and work on that intrinsic control with that foot tripod. So work on this a couple times a day, either before or after your run. Again, we can work on that foot spreading as a nice warm-up, or to combat the foot compression through shoes, and then we can work, it's good to work on our toe intrinsic strength after we've warmed up that toe spread.